Hello class, welcome to Darasa Online. My name is Mr. Saleh Bakari. I'm teaching Science and Technology in Standard 4. Dear pupils, today we are going to discuss about properties of matter. In the last lesson, we discussed about concept of matter. Now, before going to the properties of matter, let us revise a bit concerning the concept of matter. What is a matter? Matter is anything which occupies space and has mass. And since we saw so many examples in our environment, for example, here I have a body marker. This is an example of a matter. Why? Because it occupies space, just like in my hand, and it has a mass. Also, we have several examples. For example, my shirt here is a matter. Why? Because it occupies space and it has a mass. Also, the whiteboard here, it is a matter. Why? Because it occupies space and it has a mass. Now, after seeing the meaning of the word matter, and today we are going to see the properties of matter. Properties of matter, before analyzing the properties of matter, just take an example. Consider you are at home. You are maybe taking a breakfast or you are drinking a water. The water you are drinking, why water can be drunk? Because it is flowing. But it is very impossible to eat water or a cassava. Example for matter, cassava. Cassava, you can eat cassava, but you cannot drink cassava. Now, drinking and eating has differentiated the term matter, a water, a term matter, and a cassava. Now, these will lead you to know the properties of matter. Now, properties of matter, it is the way an object is, its appearance, shape, nature, softness, hardness of something. These are, we can say, the properties of matter. Now, before listing the properties of matter, first of all, we have to know the states of matter. How many states of matter do we have? There are 3 states of matter. There is a solid state, also liquid state, and we have a gaseous state. Dear pupils, you can read after me. There are three states of matter. Roman 1, solid state. Roman 2, liquid state. Roman 3, gaseous state. Now from these states of matter, now we are in a position of telling, of analyzing, of mentioning the properties of matter. Just an example, I gave you a cassava. You can eat cassava, but you cannot drink cassava. Or a water. You can drink a water, but you cannot eat water because of these states. One has a state of solid, another one liquid state. Now, join with me to see different things I've come with them today and to see the properties of different objects. You're welcome. Dear pupils, on the table here I have different objects which are in different states of matter. In my hand I have a stone. This piece of stone, it is a matter which is in the solid state. Why we say this is in the solid state? Because the shape, the appearance of the stone. The stone is hard. If you hit the stone, the more you eat, you can get hurt. That means the stone is hard. Also, the shape of the stone. The stone has a definite shape, a fixed shape. Even if you displace the stone, the shape will remain the same. And also, it needs enough force or enough energy to break this stone. Here also I have a bottle. Inside the bottle there is water. Water is an example of a matter, but this water falls under the state of liquid. It is in liquid state. Why we say liquid state? Because the water can flow. If you shift water from the bottle to the bowl, you see the water is flowing. This is different from the stone. The stone doesn't flow. If I drop the stone, directly will drop into the bowl. But the water is flowing. Also, the shape of the water inside the bottle. If you look carefully, the shape, this shape resembles the shape of the bottle. The water inside takes the shape of the container. The water inside here differs from the water inside the bowl. You can see the shape now after pouring water in the bowl, the shape is different. And also the particles used to make the liquid, example water, they are not close and tight each other compared to the stone. The stone, the particles used to make a stone, they are very close to each other and they are very tight to each other. But the particles used to make water, they are not close and tight to each other. That's why water is flowing. Even the rain, when it is raining, after sometimes you find the rain makes a river, the water is flowing, quite different from the solid state. Also, I have a spray here. This spray, if I spray, you can find some sort like smoke or steam. This is an example of a gaseous state. If you spray, after a few seconds it disappears. Why? Because the particles used to make the spray are very far apart and they are not close to each other. They are loosey. And this spray is taking the available space in the air. And also it is taking the shape of the container. For example, if I spray enough here, the spray will spread in this surrounding and take the shape of this area. And also the spray, which is in this gaseous state, it is also compressed. You can compress the gas or the air. That's why you find a balloon here. Inside the balloon here, there is air. This air, you apply air inside the balloon, but you can apply more and more by compressing it. Just take a look. Here, I pressurized and the air is inside here, but I can compress more and more to make this balloon bigger. This means air or the gaseous state can be compressed and compressed to fill the balloon. All these things we have seen here are leading us to know the properties of matter. The first, we have solid state, and the properties of solid state, we have seen an example of a solid state. It is a stone. A stone, it is hard, has a definite shape. The particles made a stone are very close and tight to each other. The water, which is in the liquid state, takes the shape of the container. They can flow, and also the particles made water are not close to each other and are not tight to each other compared to the stone. Also, we have seen the spray. The spray we have seen, the spray is free to move. They are taking the space in the surrounding to the air. And also the particles made the spray are very far and they are not tight to each other. That's why they are free to move. Dear pupils, now let us see the relationship of these states of matter: solid state, liquid state, and a gaseous state, by taking examples of all objects which are in our environment, either home environment or school environment. Dear pupils, now by referring properties of matter, let us see the relationship of these three states of matter. Solid state. Solid state, by looking their shape, solid states, they are hard and have definite shape. Now, liquid state. Liquid state, the shape of the liquid state depends on the container. It doesn't have the definite shape but takes the shape of the container. Also, the softness or hardness of this state, it is soft. That's why you can insert a finger into the liquid, the finger, or the hand into the water or into the milk, but it is very hard to insert and immerse the finger inside the stone. So doesn't have the definite shape, and it takes the shape of the container, and they are soft. In gaseous state, the matter doesn't have the definite shape. They take the shape of the container, but the particles are very free to move to take the space available. Also, the particles made this gaseous state are very far apart one another, and they are not tight to each other. That's why they are free to move. That is the first relationship. The second relationship, it is about the particles made the state one after another. Solid state, the particles made are very close and tight to each other. The liquid state. Liquid state, the particles are not tight to each other and they are not close to each other. Gaseous state, the particles are very far one another. They are not close and they are not tight. Now, these are states of matter and their properties. We have seen the first property is about the shape, and the second property, it is about the particles which make that state of the matter: solid state, liquid state, or gaseous state. Now, let us see example now in solid state. What's the good example of a solid state? In our real objects here, I've shown to you, we have seen a stone. A piece of stone, a body marker, which I have here. Also, in our home environment, we have a knife, we have a table, chair, and so many examples which are in the solid state. Dear pupils, you can help me by thinking and listing this example of solid state by looking their properties. If an object is hard, has a definite shape, the particles are very close and tight to each other, and also if you drop it or you displace it, it will remain the same. That is a solid state. Now, let me move to the liquid state. Examples of liquid state. We have water. I've shown an example here, water, and objects which are very like and very similar to water. At home, we have milk, porridge, tea, and also you can help me to mention and to think about liquid state by referring the examples I've given to you. Now take the shape of the water. Water can flow. Water takes the shape of the container. Also the particles of water are not very close and tight to each other. Also water, they are soft, not hard or rough like solid material. Now, gaseous state. Examples of gaseous state, we have seen a steam here from the spray. And also you can give me examples of gas by considering our environment. We have a smoke, steam, and think about the objects which are very similar to these examples. A smoke. Smoke is, the particles made of smoke are very loose, very far apart, and very free to move. All these are examples of gaseous state. The gaseous state, the properties, you cannot collect the gas. The gaseous state are very free to move to the airspace. And also the particles made them, they are very far apart to each other. Now you are in a position of mentioning more examples of gaseous state. Dear pupils, now you are in a position of answering questions which might be coming to your exams. a pupils of standard 4, after knowing the concept of matter, the properties of matter, now is very, very good enough to do the following questions. Dear pupils, let us go through and check these example questions which are from the properties of matter. Question number 1. What is a state of matter which makes a foam when a bottle of soda is opened? A soda is very familiar to our daily activities. Once you buy a soda, inside soda, the bottle of soda, we have soda which is in liquid form. That is a liquid state. The bottle itself, it is in the solid state, a glass. But also there is extra material inside the bottle. That's why you see that space which is left there for gaseous state. There is a gas inside. Now if you open the bottle, you find the first thing to get out from the bottle, it is that gas. And that is what this question refers. What is a state of matter which makes a foam when a bottle of soda is opened? Since that foam which is escaping from the bottle is in the gaseous state, which is a gas. Now the answer here will be a gaseous state. What is a state of matter which makes a foam when a bottle of soda is opened? The answer is a gaseous state. Number 2, what are the two properties of a liquid state? What are the two properties of a liquid state? This means which properties will lead you to know or to identify this is a liquid state. Now, remember, during the lesson and our discussion, we have seen that in order for a matter to be grouped in the liquid state, first it shouldn't have the definite shape. A liquid state doesn't have the definite shape. And also the second one, the liquid state takes the shape of the container. So the liquid doesn't have the definite shape, it takes the shape of the container. And the second property is the liquid state flows. Once you pour the liquid into another container or on the floor or on the ground, the liquid state will start to flow. The third question, classify the following into their respective state of matter: a whole, water, cupboard, porridge, stew, milk, smoke, house, steam, pen. A whole. A whole, it is very familiar to our environment and our daily activities. It falls under the solid state. Why? Because it is hard, it has a definite shape. Water. Water falls under the liquid state. Why? Because water is flowing. Water doesn't have the definite shape, takes the shape of the container. Cupboard. Cupboard falls under the solid state. Why? Because cupboard, it is hard, it has the definite shape, and also the particles made a cupboard are very close and tight to each other. Porridge. Since porridge can flow, once you pour the porridge into a container or down on the floor or on the ground, the porridge will flow. And also the porridge doesn't have the definite shape, takes the shape of the container. That means porridge falls under the liquid state. Stew. The stew, we used to take it in our meal, either breakfast, lunch, or whatever. But a stew, since it flows, doesn't have the definite shape, takes the shape of the container, falls under the liquid state. We have a milk. The same applies to the stew. takes the shape of the container, doesn't have the specific shape. The particles are loosey and they are soft. This is a liquid state. A smoke. Smoke, since the particles are very free to move to take the space in the atmosphere, in the air, this is a gaseous state. A house. House, it is hard, has a definite shape. And also the particles are very close to each other. Once you hit the wall of the house, you will get hot. Therefore, this will fall under the solid state. Steam. Steam, it is in the gaseous state. Why? Because it is free to move. Very hard to collect them. Once you spray or once the steam goes to the air, after a few seconds it disappears because it is free to move to take the space available. Now, steam falls under the gaseous state. Pen. Pen, just like my body marker, pen also it is in the solid state because it is hard, it has a definite shape, and also the particles made the pen are very close and tight to each other. Now, these are samples of questions which you may face as the Standard 4 pupil. Please go through these questions and answer this question by referring and reviewing our lesson of today. Dear pupils, don't forget the lesson of today we were in the discussion concerning the properties of matter. In the properties of matter, we have seen the states of matter, which is solid state, liquid state, and the gaseous state. In the solid state, we have seen so many examples like a pen, board marker, my shirt here, whiteboard, a house, a car, a train, a knife. These are examples which fall under the solid state. Also, liquid state. Examples of liquid state, we have water, milk, juice, tea, stew, those objects which can flow and don't have definite shape and takes the shape of the container. And also we had gaseous state. In the gaseous state, examples, smoke, steam, a spray, and all objects which are very similar to these examples, which are very free to move to the air to take the space, and also the particles are very far apart to one another. And these are three states of matter. Also, in the discussion of today, we have seen the relationship according to the properties of matter. The shape of solid is hard, has a definite shape. The shape of liquid doesn't have the definite shape, takes the shape of the container. The shape of the gaseous state we have seen doesn't have the definite shape, but the particles are very free to move to take the space in the air or the surrounding. Now, from these properties and from the three states of matter, you were able to check and go through the questions we were discussing, and now you are in a position of answering all questions from this topic. Please, dear pupils, don't miss the next lesson. The next lesson will be the flying objects and the floating objects. The floating and the flying. Don't miss the next lesson. Thanks for watching. Have a nice day. Bye-bye.